there, and welcome back to Build with the Boys. We now have issue 57 of Hachette's Build the Titanic. This month we are going to be focusing on 57, 58, 59, and 60 on more detailing for the top deck that we've been working on at this point. We're very nearly done with it. I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe the first one of next month, 61, will pretty much end this. So I think everything that isn't attached to the deck yet, I think it's likely we're going to do that. And then we'll be done because in 62, we return to the hull of the ship, which I think a lot of you have been wanting to do for a long time. I have. And apparently we're getting a large piece of keel in 62. But let's focus on this month. So what we're going to do is a lot more detail into the deck. We're building the bits that are missing. I mean, there's a large blank space at the back of our deck at the moment, which is going to be filled nicely with the decking and a few other bits and pieces. In this one in particular, we are building the fourth funnel. Now, I know a lot of you haven't enjoyed the funnels because the tiny little screws, I feel your pain. Trust me, my eyes aren't what they were a year ago. So they're not the easiest thing to do. But this is the last time we've got to do it. So this is the last funnel we're building. We've now got all four funnels built, so we're done. So focus on that when you're thinking, oh, another funnel. But that's it. This is the last funnel we built. That's a beautiful thing, right? So all of our funnels are complete, and that's significant to our build, I think. The very prominent vision of the Titanic is what we're working on at the moment. I know we all want to get to the hull and the kind of meat of the ship, but once this highly decorative piece, let's face it, of the top part of the decking is done, we can start moving on to kind of the guts, the actual structure of the ship. So little bits and pieces doing this one. No one particular issue of the next four is wildly in depth. But let's get this done. If you haven't yet, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps our channel massively. At the end of this one, we will be having our Titanic talks. And this month in the fall, we're going to be focused on the wreckage of the Titanic. So that's the what it is, where it is, how it's discovered, and what plans were made, and some wacky ones to bring it to the surface. We'll be talking about that after the instructions. But without further ado, let's get into 57. Let's get funnel 4 built. Okay, so here is everything we get with 57. Let's crack this open and see what we get. Now, this should be slightly different to the other three funnels, because funnel 4 didn't do anything. Well, it did. I mean, it did have minor purpose, but the reality of it is it was a decorative funnel. It did have some very, very minor function, but not a lot. So this should be different to the, and I can already see it is. Let's see what we got there. Okay, so that's familiar. Nothing else in there. So we know what that is. We've seen those before. Okay, here are the, wow. So here are the bits. It's very unusual they've stored all this. I can see that's different already. Okay, so that's there. That's there. What have we got here? We've got the stairs. We recognise those. We've got the top half of the balcony stairs. We recognise that. Those are screws. Those tiny little DP screws. That's the one that gets everyone, I think. And then we have whatever it is that's in here. The detailing. So in this one, we've got the pipes and the whistles. That's new. So we wouldn't have seen one of those before. Because again, this one, it doesn't operate as a normal funnel, this one. So I would imagine there are going to be differences. Right, so let's get building. Okay, so here we are with this and our ridiculously tiny screws. Now, I do use, I've mentioned this before, Wera screwdrivers for my builds. And for this one in particular, I use the Wera PH00. It's just got a finer tip. I just find it easier to do this with this magnetized as well, so I'm not going to lose any of these screws anywhere. But if you have one that isn't, get yourself a magnetizer. This is literally all you do. And now your screwdriver is completely magnetized, so I run less risk of losing these little screws. Now, as this is the fourth time we've done this, it doesn't necessarily mean it's automatically going to become easier, because it is still a very fiddly process. But my advice would be focus on one side, then move on to the other side. So get this locked in first on the convenience side before you have to worry about bending around and pulling in place and whatnot. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on this side here. Now, it's only 3 that go in. I've made the same bloody mistake twice. I'm not making it this time. So this is where we go in. We don't go in the very top. We go in the next one down. So let's see if we can find this point. Once you get one screw in, you're kind of all right. But let's get that first one in. Right, we're in. Good. Right. So that should work, in theory, as a guide to where we need to go next. My heart goes out to anybody that's got, you know, aging eyes and whatnot, because believe me, I'm suffering with this. I'm wearing my magnifiers as well at the same time to just try and anything we can do to make this a little easier will help. Let's try and get this bottom one in. That's it. Let's find the spot. Now this is the easy part. So I mean, at the moment these are going in pretty simple, but that's because I'm not having to pull or hold or make allowances for the tension. So getting this side in, simple. It's the second side we're going to have difficulties with. So in theory, this one should go in quite easily. I want to make sure I've definitely put the right one in there. I have. So it would be this one here. So that's where we're going next. But yeah, twice I made the mistake of just smacking in like 5 screws into one side, and it doesn't. That's not how it goes. So there we go. That's our 3 screws in there. Now, here's the hard part, because we need to pull this round and get at least 1 screw in to hold this taut. Now, as I've said before, use masking tape or whatever it is you need to do to hold this in place and get your first screw. And once your first screw's in, you're good. So I'm going to try and get that first screw in, and then we'll take a look. So using the tape method, I've managed to get my first couple in. I've got to get the third one in. Now, it should, I hope, by removing the tape now, I think we're actually good to get our third and final one in. There we go. And there we go. Now I never have to put one of those tiny screws into a funnel again, and that is a beautiful feeling. Oh man. Right, so that one is, there we go, that's our collar attached. Ugh, that wasn't a fun job, was it? I mean, of all the things I think we've built for Titanic so far, that, I won't miss not having to do that again. I really won't. We're going to move on to this section of the funnel now. And what we're going to do is going to add, just adjust, we're going to add a collar to this. So this is nothing overly complicated. We're going to take this part here and take our collar. And it's only going to fit on one way because these 2 lugs that are in here, that's going to fit straight over there like so. So we've got that part done. And then this is going to sit in our funnel like so. So there we are. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the embellishments to this. So we're going to be starting with our ladder part here. That's going to fit in there like so. We're going to glue that into place. So there's a slot at the top. That's where that's going to go. Put a little touch, don't go mad on the glue. You don't need to. Just a little touch of glue along here. And we're going to pop that one in like so. So let me get some glue and let's get that done. Okay, so we've applied a small amount of glue to there. I'm going to pop this one in like so. Hold that one in place. Give it a few moments to dry. I mean, it's super glue, so it's not going to take long. But let the glue bond, let it do its thing before we move on to the next part, which is going to be the ladder, which is going to be installed along here. So I'm going to allow that to dry. Okay, so we've allowed that one to dry. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to install this pipework here, and this is going to go in here like so. So we're going to pop that one. It's going to go in there, and then we're going to follow the holes down. And there, that's going to hold it. We're going to put a tiny touch of glue on the end of each of these points and glue that one in place. So that's dried nicely. We've put the ladder in place as well. Same spot. You've got the 3 spots there, and then the thing for the red into the top. And that goes in, so that's that side done. Now finally, the final piece of work we have to do to the funnel is we have this piece here, which again is going to glue in. So we're going to put 3 drops of glue on each of those tabs, and that's going to fit in there like so. Just get that done. Okay, so that's glued on nicely, that's all set. Now we take this piece here, which is going to block out the funnel, unlike the other ones that we've done. That's going to sit down in there like so. I want to get this right down. Oh, this appears to be funny games. This ain't playing ball. Alright, let's have a look at what's going on with this. Okay, so this piece here protrudes through, and the peg protrudes, so you can't get this piece down. So I just had to buff that down a little bit. You're going to have to do the same, otherwise it's just it won't do it. But now, straight in. So be aware of that. If you're having problems with this, it's the pins from this protruding through and blocking this from its journey. But that's where that one goes. Now, this is a bit of a weird one. They're going to pop this on, and this goes this way on. This will hold it in place with masking tape. Just put it somewhere safe if this isn't going to hold. But this is the way round this is going to go, apparently. There are little clasps on the side of this, as you can see. They're going to sit into these parts here, but lining that up, not the easiest thing to do. I think that's got it. Yeah, that's fussy. There we go. So that's how we go in there. So this one blocks out completely, and that's how that's going to be. We are now going to attach this to the base we made in issue 56. Let me grab that and let's get that done. Yeah, put it on the wrong way around. So this smooth flat side towards your ladders. That's the way it is. So that's how you go. It goes a lot easier when you put it in the right way. But that's where that's going to go. It is saying to hold it on masking tape, but as you can see, it ain't really going anywhere. So it's up to you if you do that or not. I think you'll be all right as long as you keep this somewhere safe and secure. Let's bring up the base and attach this to it. Okay, so here's our base part from 56. And quite simply, we are going to install this to this. Make sure we're going the right way around. We are. So this is going to fit on like so. And we're going to hold this in place with 2 AP screws on the bottom here. So let me load those up and get this screwed in. Okay, so holding all this together, we're going to pop this bottom one in first. So an AP screw just in there, like so. There we go, that's one. Nice and easy. And I've just managed to drop both AP screws. Honestly, the amount of screws that I drop is ridiculous. There we go, so we've got that one. One final screw in there. And there we have it. So that is, if you forgive me, that is part 57 complete. That's our final funnel. No more funnels to build. Beautiful thing. Let's have a chat. So that's issue 57 complete. And no more funnels. All right, so that's got to make you a little bit happy, right? Surely no more funnels. That's got to be a good thing, I think. No more of those tiny screws for now. I'm sure those tiny screws are going to make a reappearance at some point, but in the immediate, we're sorted for funnels. So that's all 4 of the funnels built. Now, funnel 4 is essentially a dummy funnel. It did have a purpose. We did speak about that last month. But it's not going to have a smoke generator in it. So there'll be no smoke generator for that one, because it'd be weird if funnel 4 was blowing smoke, because it just didn't. Those of you just sticking around for the build instructions, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe. It helps our channel massively. And it means you'll never miss an episode. You'll see us go all the way to issue 140 when we'll finish our Titanic journey. Those of you sticking around for our Titanic talks, we are going to be talking about Jack Thayer. John was his actual name, but he was commonly known as Jack Thayer. And he was this guy. So that's John Thayer. Jack Thayer, as he was commonly known. Now, I know we said we were talking about wreck. So why are we talking a survivor story? Well, because he was a survivor. All will be revealed. So, Jack Thayer was travelling with his parents, who were a very wealthy Bostonian family. His parents were, well, his father was the head of the Boston Railway Company. So they're worth a lot of money. And they had 2 state cabins on board Titanic. So this is some serious money here. And Jack's cabin was an adjoining cabin to his parents' state cabin. And he went and investigated first when the collision was heard at 11:40, and he could see ice on the deck. So he returned to his room to tell his parents, it's bad. Put some warm clothes on, put your life jackets on, we need to go. So they did. At some point, they get separated. So on the journey to the deck, they get separated. And it's at that point that Jack meets a man that he'd met only a couple of hours earlier in the first class lounge, Milton Long. So Milton Long and Jack end up together, and they're looking for a way off of the Titanic. Reaching a lifeboat, they are told of the women and children first policy. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to get a lifeboat. So Jack, being a strong swimmer, suggests to Milton, we need to jump. There's no point in us staying on this. Let's jump and try and get in one of the lifeboats that's already out there. I'm a strong swimmer. Milton wasn't. Milton said to him, well, let's not be too hasty. Let's see if we can find another way off this vessel. As the time passes and the ship is listing more and more, it becomes obvious that not only are they going to not get off the vessel in a lifeboat, but also they're going to go down with it if they don't get off soon. So the agreement is there to jump. So Milton is the first one to jump from the top deck, and he jumps facing the ship. So he jumps backwards off of the ship into the water below and was never seen again. So Jack didn't see him. Now, it would have been dark, but Jack stated he jumped in. I never saw him again. He said he went under, it didn't come back up. That's what Jack states. He didn't see him again. That doesn't deter Jack. He still knows he's got to jump. So Jack jumps differently. Jack climbs over the railing and launches himself forward. So he jumps as far as he can from the actual Titanic. So he's coming at an angle, and he lands in the water. Amazingly, Jack does manage to find a vessel, and the one that he finds is Collapsible B. Now, we spoke about Collapsible B before. Collapsible B is the one that wasn't launched as such. It was a failure to launch. The collapsibles weren't great. But this is the one that Lightoller himself ended up on top of. So it was overturned, and Jack was pulled onto it, and he was one of the men that basically stood on the upturned collapsible. Lightoller would give them instruction on which way to lean with the break of the water to stop the thing from capsizing. And that must have been a lot. You had to be physically fit to have done this. You really did. And he is one of only 40 men that went into the water that managed to find a vessel to escape on. Being young, being 17 years old, probably meant he was physically fit. He was capable of doing this. But it was very harrowing, as it would have been for everybody. And Jack was from Pennsylvania, and he said that the noise of the people screaming in the water reminded him of locusts in Pennsylvania with that constant hum. He said all of the screams had just become one noise, just one hum. How terrible is that? And then as the time passed, the hum became lower because there were less people alive to scream, until eventually the silence kicked in. And that must have been horrifying. So where does this come into the wreck? Well, Jack is one of very few people that reported seeing Titanic break in half. And a lot of people just didn't believe this. They didn't believe that Titanic broke in half. They just wouldn't have it. They said, no, it sank in one piece, because a lot of people claim they saw it sink in one piece. So what were the people that said they saw it sink in one piece seeing? They were either, I think what they were probably seeing was the bow of the ship, the stern of the ship, going down. They probably saw that and assumed all of it was going down like that, I guess. But a lot of people claim they saw it go down in one piece, whereas Jack says, no, it snapped in half. I watched it happen. I saw it happen. I heard it happen. And people wouldn't believe him. I mean, typically they wrote it off as he was traumatized, or he imagined he saw it, but he was adamant. I watched it snap in half. And this was a big part of the testimony in the Titanic investigations of, Jack swearing blind, I watched that ship break in half, but they wouldn't have it. They wouldn't have it. And maybe it's because he was young or whatever, but it was somewhat dismissed. Now that's relevant because on later expeditions to find the Titanic and subsequently raise the Titanic, which we're going to be talking about, all of these theories were based on it being complete. So before they'd even located the Titanic, they were discussed on ways they could raise it from the seabed, assuming that it was a complete ship sat at the bottom of the ocean with one one piece of damage to the hull. But Jack was saying, well, no, you're looking for two. You're looking for two parts. It's broke in half. But they wouldn't believe him. No one believed him. Very few people made that claim. And for the longest time, it wasn't until 1985 when the wreckage was found that it was then confirmed, yes, it broke in half. Which wasn't that long ago, you think about it. So for the longest time, we thought it was a complete vessel, which it wasn't. So that is where he fits into the wreckage. It haunted Jack badly, as it would, and he made a statement he wrote an account of his time on the Titanic in 1940. Jack died quite young, and he died at 50, but in 1940 he wrote an account. It's very interesting. I'm going to read you one of the passages from it, which I think bears weight, holds up. He said there was a peace and the world before Titanic. There was peace and the world had an even tenor to its way. Nothing was revealed in the morning, the trend of which was not known the night before. It seems to me that the disaster about to occur was the event that not only made the world rub its eyes and awake, but awoke it with a start, keeping it moving at a rapidly accelerating pace ever since, with less and less peace, satisfaction and happiness. To my mind, the world of day awoke April 15th, 1912. It's kind of hard to argue with that. If you look at the state of the world before the Titanic and the state of the world after the Titanic, it's hard to argue with that. Shortly after Titanic, World War One, barely 20 years after that, World War Two, and the state of the world where it was. Now, my argument would be, for Jack and Jack's world, there was a peace, and there was an even tenor to the world of that class. Jack was from wealth, so he was used to the class system of being, if you're of this class, you get to do whatever you want, and you get to, life was pretty sweet. I think everything after 1912, including World War One and World War Two, made the world change its views. Suddenly, people that had no voice had a voice. So the working classes, which, let's face it, are the majority, they are the majority. Suddenly, the majority gained a voice. So things like our NHS are direct results from those wars. Because we've just gone to war for you, the least you can do is look after us. And the importance of us was there, and less importance was being put on a class system now. So after World War One, particularly after World War Two, the class system had took such a battering. It doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, naturally, we still have nobility and we have things like that, but as it stands, someone's status in society being able to tell you what you can and can't do, and their word being taken for more than yours, of course it still exists in some aspects. But the reality of it is a working class person can now become far more successful than an upper class person. It's just the way it is. That's the way the world now is. But that was never the case. So before 1912, if you were working class, you were working class. That was your lot. There was no way to really advance in life. You had exceptions to this, like Maggie Brown, who had money, but even she was never accepted by the society. That society was now gone. So for Jack, definitely, when he said about his world had changed dramatically, absolutely. But I think if you spoke to steerage or third class passengers, is there a peace and happiness and satisfaction to the world? They'd say no, which is why they were on the Titanic. They were heading towards America for something better than they currently had, just looking for something. Upper class people didn't have to do that. They didn't have to migrate thousands of miles away from their family just so they could eat, which is what these people are doing. So for Jack, definitely his world, and I think the world of the upper class has changed drastically after 1912. But for the lower classes, I think it actually improved. Once you get the wars out of the way, I think their life and their standard of living actually improved massively. So it depends on what side of the coin you fall there, I guess. But that is the story of Jack Thayer, and that is relevant to our next talks, where we're going to be talking about the efforts that were made to locate and raise the Titanic, and also what's happening with the wreck. But we'll be talking about that in the next ones that are coming up, which will be coming up very soon. So please tune in for 58, where we will be adding, I believe, we will be making the first class smoking lounge. So that'll be interesting. We will be back very, very soon for that. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Please remember to both like and subscribe, and I'll catch you very, very soon for more Titanic. I will see you then.